I had this one time from Dr. Jordan B. Peterson and never actually cared much about it until I was coming up with a structure to this episode. He said that the safest place to store your wealth is in your soul, not in assets, not in the bank, not in the home that you have, because you can lose those. But if you build yourself, if you build the skills, if you build the knowledge, you can make all these other things back. All you would need would be time. So, in this episode of the 5 to 9 Job podcast, we are going to look at how the rules of betting and chance apply to the game of life, because trust me, most things we do are odds, bets, and probabilities. What I mean is that you can't really tell what will come out of a decision 100% until it has happened, until you have made the decision, until you have seen the results. So I am trying to draw this conclusion that life is a lot more like betting. Alright, maybe not, but I will explain. So let's get into the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your 5 to 9 Job, your space to grow and build the kind of life that you want outside of your 9 to 5. So, today we are talking about where the safest place to store your wealth is. And we started by posing that exact question. Where is the safest place to store your wealth, your hard work, your value? Is it in the bank, in the stocks, in the real estate? I would say no. The safest place to store your wealth is in you, in your reputation, in your skills, in your character, in the work that you do for your loved ones, in the service that you give to others. You are the MasterCard, you are the mega odd, you are the jackpot of your own life. And when you realize this, you start making decisions differently. And let me explain. You see, I have already coined that life is a gamble. Whether you like it or not, every decision you make is a bet. And the best bet you can make when it comes to life is to bet on you. And this is what I mean. When you are taking a risk, if you're going to take a huge risk, take it on yourself, not on someone else. Because at least then you can own the results. I only realized this not so long ago when I surmised that I was helping so many other people build their dreams at the expense of mine. The research project I was pouring nights into, and thought only to realize that it wasn't even, you know, a third priority to the person that was lead researcher. So I decided to take a few bits off the table, a few bets that I had taken on other people off the table, and then take more bets on me to take more risks that paid out more for me. I mean, if you are going to take risk, at least enjoy the upside. So my strategy has changed, and that's what I am trying to break down for you in today's episode. To play the most iterable strategy, like Jordan Peterson says, which means making decisions that compound over time, that build you up, that keep you in the game for as long as possible. This whole concept that Jordan Peterson talks about of playing the most transcendent iterable strategy is all about three things. You are going to pay a price no matter what you do. Nothing is going to be free, and at the end of it all, we are all going to die. That's the ultimate price. And then two, you always have a choice, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when you are at odds with yourself, even when you feel cornered, you can decide to act or not to act. You can decide. You still have a choice, even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when you think there is no way out of this hard pickle that you are in, there is a choice that you can make that at least tilts the scales of the odds in your favor. And then three, to look at every decision as a bet. What are the odds? Marriage, what are the odds? That job, what are the odds? That business, what are the odds? That action, that car, that response, that thought. You then realize when you build this framework that some decisions carry high stakes, and those are the ones that you should take your time with. And then the small decisions, you should attack them quick, make that decision, and then continue to do what Jeff Bezos says of, if it's a quick decision and it has small consequences, do it, fail, and then do the right thing. You just keep on failing faster than anyone else. But when you go back to these high stakes decisions, I'll give you three examples. Naval Ravikant once said that the three biggest decisions in life are: one, what you do, so that is career, mission, work; where you live, so environment, culture, the opportunities; and then who you live with, so partners, friends, community. What you do, where you live, who you live with. These decisions require careful thought because they literally shape your entire life. The odds are high, and the risk of choosing wrong in one of these literally ripples out through your whole life. And I have to preface this by saying that when we are thinking about choices, the most frightening thing is risk. And even within risk, it is actually the risk of failure. And the thing about making odds, coincidentally, is that some of them will fail, and that's okay, while the others will go through. I mean, ask any trader, any divorcee, any player of life. Failure is always a stone thrown away. A powerful strategy, like I said, is to fail fast. The goal in failing fast isn't about just failing and, being a loser all the time. It's about avoiding that sunk cost fallacy. Too many people waste years investing into things that clearly aren't working just because they don't want to admit failure. The key here is to test, adapt, move forward. Like I said, quickly. You test, if it fails, you adapt and you change strategy, you move forward. Let me give you a relatable example here. Any good team that starts a project will gather feedback in the early stages and while they are trying to work on that project. And they analyze whether it's working or not. And if it's not, they cut their losses and pivot. The same applies to life. You shouldn't keep on investing into assets that are not giving you dividends, or that are, in other words, you are failing in, but you have this sunk cost fallacy of, I have already put in this energy and I don't want to look like a failure. I don't want to look like a fool. And I want us to be careful here. Failing fast doesn't mean failing recklessly. It means failing intelligently. You test, adapt, and then move forward. And the other thing here is, not all failures are the same. Some failures are learning opportunities, others are just bad decisions. And you should accept that there is a distinction between them. There are going to be failures where you will say, okay, you know what, I can learn something from this. And then there are going to be failures that it was just a bad decision, it was a deal gone wrong, and you need to accept and say, you know what, there is no way I can sugarcoat this. This was a bad decision, and I mean, it's good that I have now found out, and then you adapt and change. And then do not celebrate failure for the sake of it. The goal is to learn, adjust, and improve. Do not celebrate failure in the way that every time you fail, you say, "Mbu, it's a step in the right direction," and what. You are covering yourself with this whole facade of that, I am moving in the right direction because I have failed. Sometimes it's just a bad decision, and then you start celebrating the bad decision, which just makes you even look more of a fool, I should say. Anyway, a lot can be said about fallacies, and trust me, in this game of life, there are many, but you have to be careful. I have just talked about the sunk cost fallacy. Our minds play tricks on us, and there are so many cognitive biases that keep people stuck, apart from the sunk cost fallacy that we have already talked about. So for example, there is the gambler's bias, whereby someone is like, I have lost so much already, my luck has to change soon. They have this optimistic look at life even when they make bad decisions, that, sooner or later, let me just keep putting. It's close to the sunk cost fallacy, but it's different. This one is more of a naive kind of optimism. And then there is confirmation bias. These guys that only want to act according to what they already believe. This whole thing of, I only listen to information that confirms what I already believe or what I've already said. They only associate with people who have the same beliefs. So in other words, they don't invite external criticism. They don't invite external knowledge. They don't learn. That's also another bias. And if you're making your decisions based on half knowledge, the guys that are taking in all the variables are going to beat you. And then the other one is this bandwagon effect, which follows this confirmation bias that everyone else is doing it, so it must be right. I mean, not everyone that is going into the AI race right now is right. Some of them have sunk billions into these startups and they have lost them. And then another one is also overconfidence bias. I know what I am doing, even if I have no evidence to back it, I will be successful. We all know politicians that talk like that. That is also confirmation bias. That is taking too much of a risk on yourself without having the ground to stand on. What are you going to stand on and say that this is what I am basing on to make this kind of risk? Because at the end of it all, yes, you are going to be the best safe or the safest asset to place your wealth into. But if you are being attacked by these small fallacies, then you are jeopardizing your whole game. You are jeopardizing your whole life. And why I'm talking about this is so that we can be more aware of them and hopefully avoid them in this game of life. Recognizing these traps can save you years of regret that at the end of the day, you are going to dominate your own gambling table, your own life. Have you realized that no one but the one operating the gambling table wins more than he does? Okay, I got this from reading The Richest Man in Babylon when Akkad was talking about luck with his other guys in the Temple of Knowledge. And what they explained was that when you go to the gambling table, the only one that is assured of making money is the owner of the table. Why? When you roll a dice, you are betting on a number. Let me say the dice has 6 sides, you're betting that one will come on top. Your chance of that happening is 1 in 6. The gambler or the owner of the table, his chance of that happening is 5 out of 6. So he only needs to win once, while you need to win 6 times just to make, I mean, you need to win 5 times just to make up his one. Like the odds are already against you in that kind of situation. So you need to put yourself in more situations whereby you are the owner of the table, you are the one controlling the odds. You don't have to wait for permission to take control of your life, in other words. You don't have to figure everything out, in other words. You just need to have more right things than wrong go on, to have more right decisions made than wrong, to make more right decisions than wrong decisions, in other words. And if fear is the one that is stopping you, one way I fight this is by remembering that I will never be this age again. For me to make the bet on myself, on yourself, you should remember that you're not going to be this age again. You're only going to have this chance today. So make that bet, make it count, make that bet on yourself, take that bet on yourself. That is the best bet you'll have. And that is the only way that you're going to play the most transcendent, iterable strategy. That's all from me and the 5 to 9 job. If you liked this episode, please share it with someone. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.